26 Algerians who allied themselves with French troops in Algeria's War of Independence are to receive state honours here in France. Known as harkis, some 60,000 Algerian loyalists were allowed into France after 8 brutal years of war. They arrived only to suffer widespread discrimination and poverty. Many of those who stayed in Algeria were massacred, accused of being traitors. President Macron has gone further than his predecessors in addressing France's past in Algeria. Only last week he acknowledged that the French military instituted a system that facilitated torture as it sought to cling on to its 130-year rule in the country. Well, for more on this, we can cross live now to Boston to speak to William Lawrence, a professor of international affairs at George Washington University. Thank you very much for speaking to us here on France 24. Just how significant is this news that over 20 harkis will be receiving state honours here in France?
I think it's highly significant. I think that the French-Algerian War of 50s, like the Algerian War of the 90s, never really had a proper reconciliation afterwards. And these terrible scars remained in both countries, a kind of collective national PTSD, as these wounds, these ghosts you refer to, these wounds were never really healed. And Macron is making gestures on both sides of this. On the one side, he's admitting to French torture and mistreatment of large numbers of Algerians, which led to a lot of death and casualties and displacement. And on the other hand, he's recognizing the harkis. Now, as you mentioned, the consensus figure is over 60,000 harkis were slaughtered in Algeria, and those that managed to make it out were mistreated in France. So they were sort of became a kind of, they were lost in a no man's land between France and Algeria for decades. And it's in time now that both countries address these historical wrongs. So I congratulate what Macron is doing and also what historians are doing, because the proper histories haven't been written yet. So we have Algerian and French and other historians working hard on getting the whole record together and then dealing with the past in a proper way.
Now, last week, President Macron admitted that the French state was responsible for the torture and subsequent death of Maurice Audin, who was a French pro-independence activist who disappeared in Algiers in 1957. President Macron does appear to be trying to make amends on both sides with regards to France's colonial past in Algeria. How successful is his approach going to be, do you think?
I think it's very successful. I mean, he's not taking huge leaps forward. It's not like he's paying reparations or, that sort of thing. But he's taking very important symbolic steps forward to recognize the wrongs of the past on, again, both sides of this conflict, and setting the example for Algeria, which has not dealt with the wrongs in its past. It was sort of strange in the 1990s as we were getting monthly revelations of French torture in Algeria. We were getting revelations of Algerian torture in Algeria in the 90s. And again, hidden and camouflaged and not properly treated. And to this day, the story of torture in both countries has not been fully told. And this will be very important for healing. There are people who've waited decades to have their story be told, to have their pain recognized, loss of family members, torture. So, and all sides of these conflicts. So Macron isn't solving these problems yet, but he's taking important symbolic actions to improve the conversation.
And why is it, do you think, that Emmanuel Macron is so much more keen than his predecessors to confront the realities of the Algerian war?
I think there's probably many reasons, and I don't follow French politics as closely as I should, but two things are very clear to me. Number one, Macron is an iconoclast, and he's willing to break with taboos and break with traditional political alliances to take a different path. And this is his iconoclastic approach, which can bear some fruit at times. And another is Macron has a history of promoting economic relations, and he's well aware that the French and Algerian economic relationship, which isn't as strong as it could be, the French have been somewhat supplanted by the Chinese in Algeria and other economic interests, that France and Algeria will both do better economically if they deal with these wrongs of the past and come to terms and have a better relationship with each other. It will help socially, it will help politically, and it will help economically to have a deeper relationship. And this can't fully happen until we deal with the past and all of these leftover legacies of pain that haven't been dealt with.
William Lawrence, Professor of International Affairs at George Washington University in Boston. Thank you very much.